I always thought I knew my son. Every smile, every glance, every little thing about him. I believed I understood it all. But then, one ordinary day, he planned something that shook my world. A surprise I never saw coming, and one that changed everything forever. Life had settled into a familiar rhythm. I woke up early every morning, made breakfast, and kissed my son, Liam, on the forehead before heading off to work. The days were long, sometimes exhausting, but knowing I was building a future for him kept me going. He was my world, the reason I pushed through every hardship. Liam had always been a thoughtful child. Even as a boy, he'd watch me closely, as if he could sense when I was tired or overwhelmed. He would bring me a cup of tea without me asking, sit beside me in silence when I needed comfort, and always find a way to make me smile. But lately, something about him had changed. It started with the small things. He seemed lost in thought, his usual energy dulled by something I couldn't quite put my finger on. He'd come home from school, mumble a quick greeting, and head straight to his room. Normally, he'd tell me all about his day, how his math teacher kept forgetting students' names, how his best friend did something ridiculous at lunch, or how he aced a test. But now, he was quiet. At first, I thought he was just growing up, finding his independence. But then I started noticing more. Whispered phone calls behind closed doors. A spark of excitement in his eyes when he thought I wasn't looking. The way he suddenly became secretive about his whereabouts. My mind raced with possibilities. Was he in trouble? Was he hiding something from me? One evening, as I set the dinner table, I decided to ask. "Liam," I said casually, placing his plate in front of him. "Is everything okay?" He looked up, surprised, as if I had caught him off guard. "Yeah, Mom," he said with a small smile. "Why?" I shrugged, keeping my voice light. "You just seem different lately, distracted." For a moment, he hesitated. Then, his smile grew wider. "I'm just planning something." "Planning something?" The words made my heart skip a beat. "What kind of something?" I probed. His grin turned mischievous. "It's a surprise." A surprise. I wanted to be excited, but a strange unease settled in my chest. What kind of surprise needed whispered phone calls and secrecy? Over the next few days, my curiosity turned into concern. Liam was staying up late, scribbling things in a notebook he refused to let me see. He'd suddenly leave the house without explanation, coming home with a look of satisfaction, as if he had accomplished something important. I told myself to trust him. He was a good kid, always had been, but the mother in me couldn't silence the worry creeping into my heart. Then one evening, I overheard something that made my breath catch. I was walking past his room when I heard him on the phone. His voice was low but filled with excitement. "Yeah, it has to be perfect. She deserves this." I froze. She? My mind jumped to conclusions. Was he talking about a girl? Had he fallen in love? Was he afraid to tell me? I stepped back from his door, my thoughts spinning. I had raised him to be responsible, but I couldn't shake the fear that he was getting involved in something he wasn't ready for. Should I confront him? Demand to know what was going on? Or should I let him have his secrets? The next morning, I decided to act normal. If he wanted to tell me, he would. I just had to be patient. But then, right before he left for school, he turned to me with that same twinkle in his eyes. "Mom, don't make any plans for Sunday," he said with a grin. "Why?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "Because it's a surprise," he said again. And just like that, my worry grew tenfold. What was he planning? And why did I have a feeling that whatever it was would change everything? The next few days felt like a storm brewing in my chest. My mind spun with questions, doubts, and wild theories. What was Liam up to? And why was he being so secretive about it? I tried to act normal, to pretend I wasn't overthinking. But deep down, my anxiety was eating me alive. Every time he looked at me with that secret smile, I felt like there was a whole world he was hiding from me. One I wasn't a part of. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. Liam had gone to bed. His door closed as usual. But just as I was about to turn off the lights and go to my own room, I heard something. His voice, low and urgent. I stepped closer, my heartbeat quickening. Yeah, everything's set. It has to be perfect. I just hope she loves it, he whispered. She. There it was again, that one word that sent a shiver down my spine. I pressed my hand to my chest, my breath catching. Was it a girl? Was he planning something for someone special? If so, why wouldn't he just tell me? Doubt crept in, feeding my insecurities. Was I losing my son? Had I become someone he couldn't confide in anymore? The next morning at breakfast, I decided to test the waters. So, any special plans at school today? I asked, keeping my voice casual. Liam barely looked up from his plate, but I caught the flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Nothing much, he said, stuffing a piece of toast in his mouth. I waited, hoping he would say more, but he didn't. Instead, he grabbed his backpack and kissed me on the cheek. Remember, Mom, Sunday, no plans. And just like that, he was out the door. I stared at his empty plate, frustration bubbling inside me. I wanted to trust him, but the secrecy was driving me crazy. As the days passed, I noticed more signs. He was texting more than usual, his fingers flying across his phone screen with an intensity I had never seen before. He would leave the house at odd hours, claiming he had errands to run. Then there were the packages. Small, neatly wrapped boxes started arriving at our doorstep. Whenever I reached for them, Liam would snatch them up, tucking them under his arm as he hurried to his room. I was dying to ask, but I held back. I didn't want to push him away. But the real breaking point came on Friday night. Liam had gone, out again, saying he had one last thing to take care of before Sunday. I sat on the couch staring at the clock. My nerves stretched thin. Hours passed. Finally, I heard the front door open. I rushed to meet him, but as soon as he saw me, his face changed. It wasn't guilt. It was something else. Excitement. A kind of happiness I hadn't seen in him for a long time. Mom, he said, his voice breathless. Just a little longer, okay? Trust me. I opened my mouth, ready to demand answers, but something in his eyes made me stop. He was glowing with anticipation, and for the first time, I felt something else beneath my worry. Hope. Whatever my son was planning, it wasn't just some silly surprise. It was something big. Something that was about to change everything. Sunday arrived with a strange energy in the air. I woke up feeling restless, a mix of anticipation and unease swirling inside me. Today was the day Liam's secret would finally be revealed. I tried to act normal, but my hands were shaky as I made breakfast. Liam was buzzing with excitement, barely able to sit still. He kept checking his phone, his knee bouncing under the table. Mom, don't ask any questions today, he said with a grin. Just trust me. Trust? I wanted to. I really did. But my heart wouldn't stop racing. Where are we going? I asked, watching his face closely. You'll see. His eyes twinkled with mischief. Just wear something nice. Nice? That single word sent my mind spinning with possibilities. Where was he taking me? A restaurant? A party? Was this about a girl? Or was it something even bigger? A little before noon, a car pulled up outside. Liam grabbed my hand, practically dragging me toward the door. "Liam, wait." I laughed nervously. "Just tell me what's going on." "Nope," he said, popping the pea playfully. "Not yet." Before I could protest, he gently placed a blindfold over my eyes. "Liam." I gasped. "Is this really necessary?" He chuckled. "Absolutely. No peeking." I let out a shaky breath as he led me outside. The car door opened and I slid into the seat, feeling my heart beat against my ribs. The ride was long, the sound of the city slowly fading as we drove further. Every bump in the road, every turn we took, added to my growing anticipation. Liam held my hand the whole time. "You okay, Mom?" His voice was soft, filled with something I couldn't quite place. I nodded. I don't know what to expect." He squeezed my fingers. "You're gonna love it." Minutes passed like hours. Then, finally, the car came to a stop. My breath hitched as I heard the door open. "We're here," Liam said. I felt a rush of cool air as he helped me out of the car. My legs wobbled slightly, my senses heightened. Then, his hands rested gently on my shoulders. "Are you ready?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "Yes." Slowly, he untied the blindfold. I blinked as sunlight flooded my vision. Then, as my eyes adjusted, I froze. In front of me stood a small, beautiful cafe. But not just any cafe. The one I had always dreamed of owning. The one I had talked about for years. The one I had never believed could be mine. Tears burned my eyes as I stared at the sign above the door. Mom's place. My breath hitched. My knees felt weak. "Liam," I whispered. I turned to him, my hands shaking. What is this?" He grinned, his own eyes shining with emotion. "It's yours, Mom," he said. I made it happen. My world tilted. I couldn't breathe. I had spent years putting my dreams aside, working late hours, sacrificing everything to give Liam a better life. And now, he was giving it all back to me. I covered my mouth, overwhelmed. "Liam, how did you do this?" He chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "I've been saving for years, doing freelance work, picking up side jobs. I even got a little help from Uncle Mark. You always told me about this dream, Mom, and I wanted to make it real for you." Tears slipped down my cheeks. This was more than a surprise. It was love. It was sacrifice. It was everything. I reached out and pulled him in two, the tightest hug, my heart overflowing. Liam had changed my life, and I would never, ever forget this moment. I clung to Liam, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. Tears streamed down my face, but I didn't care. I pulled back just enough to look at him, my hands still gripping his shoulders, afraid that if I let go, this would all turn out to be a dream. How did you do this?" My voice trembled. Liam chuckled softly, wiping a tear from my cheek. "Mom, you gave up everything for me. You worked long hours, skipped meals just to make sure I had enough. I saw you come home exhausted, but still managed to smile for me. I always knew you wanted this, and I wanted to make it happen." I shook my head in disbelief. "But Liam, this isn't just some gift. This is huge. A business. A whole cafe. Where did you even start?" He took a deep breath, his excitement turning into something more serious. "It wasn't easy," he admitted. "I started saving a long time ago, tutoring kids after school, freelancing online, doing odd jobs. Every penny I earned, I put it aside for this. I stared at him, my heart aching. Liam, you should have been spending that money on yourself, for college, for your own dreams. He smiled, shaking his head. You don't get it, Mom. This is my dream. Seeing you happy, watching you finally do something for yourself. That's all I ever wanted. A fresh wave of tears hit me. I covered, my mouth overwhelmed. He wasn't done. I didn't do this alone, he continued. I reached out to Uncle Mark a few months ago. He believed in the idea and helped me secure the lease. Then I found a small investor, Mr. Dawson. Remember him? The old man who used to come to your bakery job and always told you your pastries were the best in town. I nodded, dazed. Yes, he was always so kind. Well, I told him about your dream, and he didn't even hesitate. He helped with the startup costs, no strings attached. He said, "A woman who makes pastries that good deserves a place of her own." I let out a broken laugh, shaking my head in disbelief. Liam took my hand and led me toward the entrance. Come inside, Mom. It's all yours now. With shaky steps, I followed him in. The moment I stepped inside, I gasped. It was perfect. The warm, inviting scent of coffee filled the air. The wooden tables, the soft lighting, the glass display case, filled with freshly baked goods. It was exactly how I had imagined it in my daydreams. Then, my eyes landed on something that nearly broke me. A wall covered in framed pictures. Memories of me and Liam. Photos of us from when he was a child, when I used to bake with him in our tiny kitchen. A picture of me in my old bakery job, smiling despite how tired I looked. And right in the center, a framed piece of paper with words that made my chest tighten. For Mom. Because you gave me everything. Now it's your turn. I turned to Liam, my voice barely a whisper. This is too much. He shook his head, his own eyes glassy with emotion. No, Mom. This is exactly what you deserve. I reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly. My son, my beautiful, selfless son, had done something I never thought possible. For the first time in years, I felt something I had almost forgotten. Hope. New beginning, a future that for once belonged to me, and it was all because of him. I stood in the middle of my new cafe, my heart pounding with emotions too big to contain. This wasn't just a place. It was a dream brought to life. A dream I had buried under years of sacrifice, responsibilities, and late-night exhaustion. And my son, my beautiful, selfless Liam, had given it back to me. I turned to him, my hands trembling. Liam, I don't even know what to say. He smiled, his eyes shining. You don't have to say anything, Mom. Just promise me one thing. I swallowed hard, nodding. Anything. Promise me that you'll finally put yourself first, he said softly. That you'll stop worrying about everyone else for once, and just be happy. His words hit me like a wave. How many years had I spent putting my happiness second? How many dreams had I let slip through my fingers, always telling myself, maybe one day. And now, one day was here. Tears spilled down my cheeks. But this time, they weren't from sadness. They were from something lighter, something that made my chest feel full and warm. Gratitude, love, hope. I let out a shaky laugh. I promise. Liam grinned. Good. Now come on, there's one last thing. He led me behind the counter, past the brand new espresso machine, past the neatly stacked plates and cups. Then he pointed to a small drawer beneath the register. Open it. With trembling fingers, I pulled the drawer open. Inside, there was a key. I picked it up, staring at him in confusion. What's this? Liam's smile widened. Your key, Mom. The key to your future. The key to something that's finally yours. I pressed the key to my chest, my heart nearly bursting. For so long, I had convinced myself that dreams were meant to be sacrificed, that happiness was something I would find later. But standing here, holding that key, I realized something. Later is now. I looked around the cafe, at the walls that held our memories, at the tables where strangers would soon sit, sharing laughter over coffee and pastries made with love. This place wasn't just a business. It was a piece of my soul, and it was all because of my son. I turned to Liam, pulling him into the tightest hug I had ever given. "Thank you," I whispered against his shoulder. "For everything." He chuckled, hugging me just as tight. "You've done enough for me, Mom. It was time someone did something for you." As I pulled away, the cafe door chimed. I turned, startled, as familiar faces began to walk in. Uncle Mark, Mr. Dawson, some of my old co-workers from the bakery, even a few neighbors from our street. They were all here, smiling, clapping, celebrating me. "Liam invited us," Uncle Mark said with a warm grin. "Wouldn't miss this for the world." My throat tightened. Liam had planned everything. I looked at my son, my pride, my greatest gift in life, and I knew one thing for sure. No matter what challenges lay ahead, no matter how hard the journey might be, I wasn't alone. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt free. I turned to the crowd, wiping my tears, and with a bright, genuine smile, I took a deep breath and said, "Welcome to Mom's place. Some surprises change. Everything. Watch till the end to see how love and sacrifice can turn dreams into reality."